You're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the political correspondent for Politics Joe, Eva Santina Evans, and the writer and broadcaster Angela Epstein. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what is on some of those front pages. Well, the lead for The Guardian, Russian envoys to the EU and UK are summoned after deadly strikes in Kyiv, which also hit British and EU offices. The FT hears there's concern among banks that the Chancellor could impose higher taxes on the sector in order to raise more money for the public purse. More woes for the Chancellor on the Daily Mail. The boss of one of Britain's biggest supermarkets accuses Rachel Reeves of taxing everything and driving up prices in the process. The Metro has news of a chickenpox vaccine being rolled out on the NHS. More of that on The Times, reporting it as the biggest expansion of the immunisation programme in 10 years. The Sun reports the Home Office are spending thousands of pounds hiring staff to teach balloon craft and floristry to migrants. The Daily Express hears French police don't want to go into the sea to stop migrant boats on their way to Britain. There are hopes for a royal family reunion on the Mirror. The King set to meet Prince Harry for the first time in 19 months. And the Daily Star has news MPs are using robots to write their speeches and letters. Was it like ChatGPT or actual robots? Anyway, we're joined tonight by Eva Santina Evans and Angela Epstein. Thank you both so much for being with us. It's great to see you. Okay, let's start. It's a story that's treated in quite a few of the papers, that attack that we saw overnight in Ukraine, on Kyiv specifically. I think the second biggest of the war so far, and it kind of calls into question where we are when it comes to any kind of ceasefire. Also some specific lines. If we look at The Guardian, Russian envoys summoned as UK and EU offices hit in Kyiv. It was the British Council and the EU delegation. Eva, let's start with you.
Yes, this is just 2 weeks after that red carpet was rolled out by Donald Trump for Putin, and we were in this fresh round of negotiations. And Kyiv had been relatively untouched during this time. And now you've had the second deadliest night of bombing since the conflict began over 3 years ago. And the big issue now for the EU and for Britain is that two buildings belonging to, each respective body were hit. And there are questions over, was this, it's thought this was a precision missile. So the question is, was this intentional? Was this to inflame tensions? And presumably that is why the ambassador has been summoned today. Details of that conversation I highly doubt we'll be privy to for quite some time. But presumably the conversation sort of went, did you mean to do it? And if so, why?
Yeah, and I think the EU, the Russian ambassador to the EU was also summoned by the
he was.
foreign minister equivalent there.
He was. And it's a question of, we're seeing diplomacy has stalled, as Eva said, that literally the red carpet was rolled out. And after Alaska, after Washington, after talks of will there be bilateral or trilateral conversations, will Trump be the one that can literally be the matchmaker and make things happen? How do you, on the one hand, have this kind of exercise in diplomacy? Is it just rhetoric? Is there any point to it? Does it have any meat in the sandwich? And at the same time, not only the attack, but such a provocative attack, by default or by design, the first piece of British property to be caught in the crossfire. To me, what also leapt out about this latest attack is that we're seeing, really, for the first time, some of the humanity of this. We know that thousands of people, innocent people, have been killed in the war. We know that it's a drawn-out conflict. But then we get individual sort of numbers, 4 children amongst those who were killed, 21 people. The civilian cost of this war, it's not just military hardware, individuals being caught in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, civilians, whether target or not, certainly killed and unavoidable in that case if you strike Kyiv. Let's just look at the Times as well. Their headline, Starmer says Putin is trying to sabotage peace hopes, because there's all this talk now about being a sort of trilateral meeting where Trump would be as well, or getting Zelensky and Putin meeting together. But there just doesn't seem to be the will from Vladimir Putin.
Not at all. And the question is, who will have the power or the muscle to enable the political muscle, the diplomatic muscle, to make him stop. If he has enough confidence to continue bombing within the context of so-called peace talks, then how do you rein him in? And I think the only person that can do that potentially is Trump. I think he was a little bit shaken by the idea of tariffs when he saw what happened with India. But even so, and Trump has famously said with dramatic understatement, he's not happy with what's going on. But Putin he cannot seem to be controlled. I think Trump is the only answer to this.
And speaking of Trump, we are waiting to hear from him.
Of course.
I mean, we heard from his spokesperson that he wasn't happy, but we are waiting to hear from his statement as well.
Yeah, and well, actually, there was an extraordinary line from him a couple of days ago, which is that he's rather happy when he's on the phone to Putin, and then an event like this happens, and he can't quite believe that the two things, it's incongruent, he says, with this sort of line of conversation. But it does, it brings about again this conversation that we're having about how on earth is this going to be resolved? What is the international peacekeeping going to look like? Who is going to police these, the current frozen lines that we have, the frozen in Ukraine? What territory is going to be given up? There are still huge rows over the Crimea and the Donbass that seem, completely unsolvable. And last night is just proof that Putin does not want to end this war anytime soon.
And it also says something about, not wishing to bash the government too much this early in the programme, but give me time. But, David Lammy, he's been, the Russian ambassador, as it says in the Times, has been summoned, and he's explained that he's not happy, the killing has to stop. Sometimes we almost feel diplomatically irrelevant because where is Britain's power in all this anyway?
Yeah, I mean, the European powers are trying to get together with the UK, but obviously, and it was interesting with Karen Levitt, that the spokesperson, the White House spokesperson, where she kind of almost made the moral equivalence when she said, Russia's attacked, but Ukraine has attacked too, and that's what we've seen a lot.
And that was disturbing because Ukraine has attacked oil refineries and military targets, and we're not talking about civilian casualties, and yet the moral equivalence is all lumped together.
Well, we'll see how it develops, and I guess we'll see what Trump says, if he says anything of any impact on this. Let's go to the Daily Telegraph and some home news. Headline here: Asylum seekers right, Trump people of Epping says Cooper. Eva, what does Yvette Cooper say here?
Well, so this is Yvette Cooper wasn't originally involved in the trial that placed this injunction on the Bell Hotel in Epping, which meant that hotel could not serve as a location for asylum seekers to be housed while they're waiting for their applications to be processed. And the Home Secretary has launched an appeal at the court. This judgment actually will be handed down tomorrow around 3 p.m. And the Home Secretary is arguing that actually this will set a precedent. If you ban asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel, this will have a domino effect around the country. And actually, she has a moral duty to house these people while they're waiting for their applications to be processed. And this could be extraordinarily dangerous if there is nowhere to house these people during that time.
But also, the fact is that Starmer did say, he pledged that by the end of this Parliament, he would close asylum hotels. And what the government is saying is, we're not saying that we endorse this, but we want to do it in our own time. We don't want to be handcuffed by the legislative process. But they're in this very difficult double bind because, as Ava says, the Home Secretary has this statutory duty to say, well, we provide somewhere for asylum seekers to stay. And yet the law is saying, but no, that in terms of the planning situation, that this transformation of a hotel into somewhere to accommodate asylum seekers is legally not tenable.
And it is really a loophole, isn't it, that the council have found, because obviously there have been these tensions, these rising tensions outside that hotel now for a number of weeks, and they sort of, reach excruciating levels, and they are extraordinarily dangerous for both the people outside the hotel and the people who are being housed inside. And this loophole was never explored by the council in the, near decade that these hotels have been used to house asylum seekers. So sort of the argument that's being presented by the Home Secretary and the Home Office is that actually this is totally inconsistent with the last decade, and so why on earth do you get to use the planning laws now when you never cared about it before?
Yeah, I mean, it's another angle of what is immigration, the biggest story, the biggest topic politically, and that people feel very strongly about, which leads us to the front page of The Sun. I'd love to get your views on this. And balloonacy, and a lovely picture of a little balloon dog. Lessons in party skills for migrants, job ads to teach flower arranging too. Beyond the headline, Eva, what are they saying here?
I have actually been to a number of these. I don't believe the ones that I have been to have been directly instructed by the Home Office, but they obviously do. These charities do receive funds from the government in some capacity.
So, of course, it's to help migrants.
It is, and essentially what it is it's for asylum seekers who come with, extraordinarily challenging, perhaps they've got mental health issues, or perhaps, that you can't sort of, people who have survived war zones need extra help and they need occupying during the day. And sort of the way that this has been written is obviously off the back of, as I've said, the months of tension that we've seen outside asylum seeker hotels. But, I can't imagine this sort of furore would have been made if, during the time of the Ukrainian refugees who were being brought to the UK, they all had access to these services, and actually these charities were used to rehabilitate them after the experience they'd just gone through.
Respectfully, it's slightly different because this has all been sort of explored within the context of allegations of criminal activity of migrants who have come to this country, which has created enormous tension. Not saying rightly or wrongly about having courses like this, but you can see why it would be so triggering and such a kind of flashpoint. And obviously you see, and this is the power of newspapers, you've got a little dog there made out of a pink balloon, and yet it's costing £165,000 to hire 4 or 5 people to do this kind of thing at a time of austerity and all the other stuff. That's why it doesn't really work in the Ukraine context.
I think the argument, though, would be that Ukrainians were offered safe passage, whereas people from Afghanistan had to travel the channel to get here. And so that there was sort of...
So sorry, we're going to have to leave it there for timings issues. So coming up, could taxing the banking sector hold the key to improving the public finances? We'll discuss that next. Stay with us.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles. Sky News, the full story first.
I'm Martin Brunt and I'm Sky's crime correspondent.
I'm David Blevins and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace.
Free wherever you get your news. I'm Neville Lazarus and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi.
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No, he did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy. Thank you.
Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
Founding principle of the alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
The trauma for everyone who witnessed what happened here hasn't gone away.
Devastation.
Greg Milam, Sky News, Manchester.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides, and it's moving this way.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live. Joins us live all in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, Eva Santina Evans and Angela Epstein. Right, we don't have a lot of time, so let's go straight to the Financial Times. Sorry about the economy here. City fears mount over Reeves's tax rate on banks to help fill the dreaded £20 billion fiscal hole. The banks fear that they might be targeted.
That's right. And I love this quote here. It's an easy target. No one likes banks. They are seen as a whipping boy for government. And I think at a time when people are going to be so under the cosh, we've talked about inheritance tax, we've seen what's happened with the farmers, this idea of the proposed mansion tax, which is they've been muttering about. And that's all very difficult, whereas the banks have always been characterised as something fundamentally nefarious, greedy. So I think this is, I don't know how well this is going to work, but there is, as it says here, unease over the autumn budget. We don't know what's coming up in the budget, and therefore this idea that going after the big lenders may be a way of filling that £40 billion.
And the whole issue is how it would affect growth, which obviously the government
of
needs.
course.
Eva.
Well, I mean, the mystical growth, I suppose, that Rachel Reeves is vying for. But, yeah, I mean, she's got to find cash somewhere. And I'm actually surprised that we haven't been talking about this all summer. I thought we were going to be talking about this every single day. It's thought that she's going to, you know, put levies up on sin taxes like cigarettes and alcohol, the mansion tax that you just spoke about there, possibly on gambling. But now here, the IPP are recommending that she imposes a levy to recoup the windfalls made by lenders following the quantitative easing programme used by the government. I mean, that is going to send heads spinning in the city. But I actually do think if you could sell that quite well, actually, to people around the country of, you know, big banks are sort of, you know, making these huge profits while the layman has had to cut back. I actually think that could be quite a good sell for Labour.
But it also says here that it says Reeves is acutely conscious of the risk of overtaxing the productive parts of the economy. Well, small businesses are entirely under the cosh because of national insurance and various other things that she's introduced, the rise in the minimum wage. So it's for the birds, this idea that somehow she wants to sort of, you know, she wants growth and yet she's stymieing it at the same time.
OK, well, we'll see what does happen with that eventually. Let's go to the Metro. Quite a picture here, front page of the Metro. Chickenpox, because chickenpox jabs are to be rolled out on the NHS. And I have to say, a lot of European countries do have it on the NHS, and we don't. You have to ask, and you have to kind of remember that, your child might need one.
I think we forget. I mean, first of all, brilliant. All hail to the Metro subs for coming up with a great headline. You know, please buy newspapers. This is what they're all about. Chickenpox is almost like a biblical illness, I think. If you know, kids do suffer with it. Most of them get over it. One of the big issues is if you don't get it when you're little and you get it when you're older, it can actually potentially be fatal. It certainly can make you very ill. I got it when I was 17, actually just before my brother's wedding. And it was terrible. I was so ill. I've known people adults, they get it in their eyes, they could get it on their organs. It's a really, really disgusting illness. So the idea that this new jab will come out and will, you know, just children will be routinely vaccinated will be fantastic. You know, and obviously there's a link further on in life with shingles as well, which is deeply unpleasant.
Eva?
Is it the end of the chickenpox party? I feel like that's all
those
I
ended
used
a while
to go
ago.
to.
Yeah,
did they really?
Yeah.
I think I went to about 6 or 7 when I was a kid. My mum was so desperate for me to have it.
Yeah, but then you can get left with like little scars. But that's fine.
It can really scar you. I won't show you mine, but it's under here.
I never noticed it.
I won't overshare.
Yeah. Angela, Eva, thank you both so much. I'll see you at the top of the 11. Now let's take a look at the weather.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Well, the next few days will feel quite autumnal with lots of blustery showers or longer spells of rain. There'll be a scattering of showers this evening, locally torrential, but more general rain will reach the far southwest. It'll be rather windy too, especially near the coast. Now, showery rain will run across the far south of Britain tonight, with the odd rumble of thunder near Channel coasts. Elsewhere, showers will become mainly confined to the west. Tomorrow morning, East Anglia and the southeast will have a spell of rain, locally heavy and thundery. The rest of the UK and Ireland will see showers developing widely again.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's Senior Ireland Correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace. The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland. Catholics and Protestants now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19, religion's nothing.
Sky News, the full story first.